Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. So it is Wednesday, and I think we're fluttering here because a lot of traders might be on life support after what took place today. I came in today, it was pretty risk low or pretty risk down. We've had some decent specific stock action. Overall, the market felt like it was stalling at highs, that there was not a lot of reasons to break out and go above highs. We still have to figure out whether or not the market could handle some kind of lift off, meaning rates higher, whether or not earnings were going to be really affected by the strong dollar, and whether or not people are motivated to put new money to work at these levels after a 6-year bull run. So I know for me, I came in, had some leftover longs. I was like, you know what? If the market's going to be good, or if we're going to have some commitment / momentum, we should hold somewhere around today. And I was excited for maybe some kind of red dog reversal in the SPX, maybe the 21-day in the bios, and there was a plan. We have a plan when we come in. Traders, you don't think too much. You have a plan and you follow it, and you use your stops and you honor just whatever process that you do follow. So there are a few rules that I have. One, obviously, we break a level, we don't reclaim that level, you stay out of the way. And two, if something was strong the day before, you want to measure commitment. What does commitment mean? It holds half, at least half of the prior day in order to stay involved on an active basis. And usually you want a third. So as the day unraveled, it got pretty ugly, and there was lots and lots of clues to get out of the way. Maybe you got short, maybe you made money that way, or you just said, I'm going to try, take a little paper cuts and figure out what's next, because I know I wasn't expecting today, but you don't have to expect it, as it just basically transpires. And you look here at the S&P, came in today, market looked pretty darn normal, didn't it? Okay, it looked as if we stalled right at highs. We had a nice move from the 2040 area. Here was your 21-day, or actually, no, sorry, this was, the 21-day. Coming close into here was your 50-day. And maybe we would see some kind of red dog reversal around 2091, or maybe we would hold where we broke out from Fed Day. So hanging out right around here, to me, would have been pretty constructive or okay. So you look at what happened, and basically you had a very ugly bar. This was definitely bigger than I would have thought. So what happened? We were kind of flattish, broke below this 2091. Some people said, you know what, I'm getting short. I think there's a double top here. I'm running for the hills, and good. If you did that, you made some money. For me, I was thinking we break below this, perhaps hold above 2081, come back above it, tried it a few times. It didn't work. So now the question is, where are we as far as this pattern? Just say if you take your Fibonacci retracements to figure out if there's any commitment to what took place since 2040, basically not much. Okay, you now broke the 25% retracement, which would have been very nice momentum-wise. You broke the 0.382%. You broke the 50 and even the 0.61. So at this point, we're back into choppy messville. One thing that was helpful, I know guys on the VTF were like, Red Dog, look at the transports. You would have thought pretty methodical. You could buy a dip, look to see spots, and if you looked for spots and you had an opinion, you really could have got rolled over. It looked as if, right, why wouldn't, after so many attempts at the highs here, why wouldn't it at least try and break out? If it obviously was going to do that, it would have held this, and it wouldn't have had such a big engulfing day in this spot. So not only did you get an engulfing day here, it paused here. So if you were looking for some kind of bounce there, it took out the middle end of the range, and now it's already coming down to the bottom end of the range. So right there, that was like, okay, I guess anything could happen here, because a lot of people aren't expecting that anything could happen. So when anything could happen, you take risk down. So this was your wide range engulfing bar that engulfed this spot. That's what you could have seen here on the transports. Okay, got out of the way. And then if you got out of the way here, you thought maybe, okay, or even if you sold some strength, like, oh, let me try some. it can get ugly real fast. And now all of a sudden the 200 days right there. So who knows? You have a huge channel here, 3 days in a row that engulfed 2 weeks. That's showing a lot of power to the downside. So you'll see what's next. For us, we look at like more momentum sectors to figure out what's next. And I know I was trading in Short Hills on Friday, and you had the Biogen news, you had the Regeneron news, and guys from CNBC like, what do you think you should do here? I'm like, I wouldn't be buying here, but I'm just not good at shorting. On the VTF, I'm like, maybe short versus this, and Jesus, he could have made your whole year. Okay, just you go to right here. Obviously, long trend. What was it doing from here? Ever since breaking above 320, what moving average did it follow? It followed the 8-day moving average. That's a strong trend. And then what happened here? Oh, got a little excited, a little extended from the 8-day moving average. Good news came out. It was sold. An exhaustion signal. So that was your clue to sell some of your bios, maybe even sell some of your other risk type of scenarios, because basically bios, which is the leading group that showed appetite for risk, many different steps along the way, wound up giving you a sell signal where you don't know what's next. The next day came in, held the 8-day. So maybe you covered here, said, okay, I shorted this. I stole something, a strong sector. Let me see if it holds. And then basically couldn't even hold for a day, broke below it. If you were playing it for a bounce, you had to sell it. And then look at today. That's pretty damn nasty. So it broke the 8-day here, broke the 21-day here. So now it broke two trends that hasn't broken for a while. So now the 50-day it held here. So I guess we'll see if it gets to the 50-day. So tomorrow we'll see how it handles this low. So if you want to look for a red dog reversal, what I would do is I would write down the low of today. Who knows how we're going to open tomorrow? The low of today is 340.76. And that were to break, maybe, the 50 days a shot, especially from here. But this 4-day move is powerful to the downside. So that might have had some people take off risk. So yesterday, guys were saying to me, what about the Russell? You love the Russell. And I'm like, why aren't you in the Russell? I'm like, because it came very far, very fast. The bios gave us some clues that, it could get hit. So if the bios, the leading group, is getting hit, why am I going to buy the Russell when it's elevated from the 8-day? Why not take some off and wait and see? Wait and see is good. You could wait and see. Your money in cash is considered a position. So you go to the Russell. And that was this, 2 topping tails, extended from the 8-day. I got involved lots of different times for swings. This was my last time that I got involved right in here, long. And then I think I sold into this day. And I did not stick around. We could have extended, whatever. 2 topping tails. Did not know what would happen next. All I know is the bios broke, so why would the Russell be so strong? Especially at least wait for a test to see how it handles the 8-day. And then all of a sudden that happened. That is a huge wide range bar. Doesn't say game over, just says, okay, I'm getting rid of all of this froth for anyone who stayed late and didn't see some other signals, and now it's below the 8 to 21 day, broke back below this prior high. So means we're not going to be making new highs in the Russell very quickly unless all of a sudden we engulf this entire day, which I don't see us really doing. I don't know why we would, but anyway. So coming in tomorrow, maybe there's a little opportunity. How do we have opportunity? You use the pivot here. The pivot here for the Russell is 122.38. And then we'll see how we handle this gap if we happen to be gapped lower. And we'll see what's next. Just don't blindly buy things. If you were blindly buying the transports without a plan, thinking, okay, I missed this day, let me buy this day, you got taken to the cleaners this day, especially when you got this pivot. So I'm just saying, just be a little careful here. Prudence. You're allowed to be prudent. The Qs. Wow. That is a huge bar. I am not in the Qs. I wasn't in the Qs coming in. I thought Apple was a little vulnerable. I was like, you know what? I'm not sure here. Back at the highs. I was thinking perhaps we could hold in here, okay, which would have been nice, right? Would have been strategic. And we didn't. It broke below both the 8-day and 21-day. So if you were using that as a gauge, hopefully you get out of the way. 2 topping tails looks somewhat controlled, somewhat normal. and then it broke. So now all you have here is yesterday's low of, or today's low, sorry, of 105.42. And then you have the pivot from right before Fed. Okay, so we'll see what happens next. But this day is friggin' engulfing. It shows power, and you got to notice it. You know, a few years ago when we had QE and we had, 50 billion pace of purchase, whatever, this day meant nothing. All of a sudden, within 3 days, we engulfed half and we went back to highs. I don't know if that's going to happen. It might, but at this point, this is pretty ugly, and that's pretty, day to take notice or a week to take notice or whatever you want to call it, especially considering the move that it's had within the spectrum. Okay, so obviously know your time frame. Guys were saying double top here. Even in the morning, I'm like, oh, there were some bears saying double top. Well, let's see if they could break us below here first, and they broke us below there. So, looking across the sectors, not much that you want to be just in, especially considering that a lot of momentum levels have all been broken. Some intermediate levels are getting tested. And who knows if we start, going into Macroville. We'll see. As far as stocks that, that we watch and we follow, Apple, I listed the chart a few times. Yesterday I was long Apple, thinking maybe it takes out 128. It failed. It got stopped out. I did not trade Apple once. Yes, I should have been short today when it broke 126.50 or when it broke 125. Instead, I just stayed out of the way. I got to work on that. But overall, you look here in Apple, okay, and you look at it pattern-wise, so it's still trapped in this new pattern, this somewhat descending channel here. This was support 1, 126.50. Okay, actually, no, support 1 was here. This is 126.50. This was 125.16. So now we'll see what happens here into, I guess, the 50-day moving average. So we'll see how we open tomorrow. If it opens up into this, maybe I'll look for a cute long. Maybe we'll see if we get a red dog reversal. It's like this, and that would help, I guess, create this pennant here. But overall, it's been a very tactical trade ever since topping out here at 133. Small red dog reversal right here, that wound up failing. Another one here that went longer, that wound up, I guess, failing. And now we'll see how we handle this tomorrow. A little different, so we'll see. This was your gap up after earnings, your breakout trade above 120.50, and pretty much a monotonous mess since. So yesterday, 2 stocks acted very well, Google and Netflix. Google, new CFO from Morgan Stanley. Question was, would there be commitment? So now I write a note every day. I don't know if you, on Twitter, there's a lot of free information, and that's cool if it's all you want to use. But if you want to read my technical note every day, I have 25, 30 names, and I talk about levels that could hold or should hold if something's going to be worth your time or if you need to get out of the way. And retracement rules. Retracement rules are great because they show you whether or not there's commitment to something and whether you should put your money there. Typically, if something's very strong, it should hold the top third, sometimes a half. But if it gives back a third or a half of a strong day, it turns it into a one-day wonder, and you run for the hills, or at least not try and catch a falling knife. And Netflix, whew, gross. Okay, look at this day yesterday. Got upgraded. It took off quick. So even if you took some, profits into the move into the 21-day, fine. But if you held some, look how fast it engulfed this entire day. If this was any good, I wrote it should hold 435. Okay, which would mean that if this day was valid and it wanted continuation, you would have to see some buyers step in and say, okay, I missed this day, let me catch a third move down or a half. So you go to your 5-minute chart. And you have to be ready and you have to be fast. Here you go. This was your first move lower. Okay, kind of bounced, and I guess this was really the spot, but it sliced this real quick. This was I think I listed 435, which it didn't hold, came in and then broke below it, and if you use this level, as your stop, at least you've saved from 430 down to, probably, where did it close? 421. You save yourself 9 points. You go to Google. Google also looked stronger. It looked like it was going to hold in there, and it also fell apart. Look at the size of this engulfing day. Okay, so that shows you it's not ready to break above resistance. If this was any good, it should have held 575. It held it in the first half an hour when the market didn't know what was going on, whether it would hang in there, and then engulfed it. So now you have to let it sift out. Gave you a chance, right? Look at this. Look at this double top. That's crazy. Came in, held, moved to the top, double top, and then broke below this, and then didn't find a friend again thereafter. Boom. So now it's different. It's different. This should not have happened. If this was healthy, it should have held up here, went sideways, and broke above. So as momentum traders, you need to know what healthy means and what your time frame is and whether you're sitting in it. I guess if you were in Google from the start of the year, today didn't mean much, but if you're trying to trade it for continuation for a healthy market, you know what it should have held. Same thing for Twitter and Facebook. Facebook, it's funny. Facebook, I bought it like 77.5. I added to it at 82, and I was done with it by around 84. And everyone started giving me a hard time, at 85, at 85.5. Red Dog, you always take your profits too quick. So when Twitter broke out, most people said, you know what, I sold Facebook too quick. Let me just make sure, I stick in Twitter longer. So yesterday when I sold some 51s in Twitter, or I got out of this Friday's calls at a 200% yesterday, like Red Dog, you always take your profits early. You're such a little skirt. Okay, you know what? I hit singles and doubles. That's how I, have a high on-base percentage. I kept next Friday's options, and then I was like figuring out whether or not there's commitment enough to hold the stock. So Twitter succumbed to pressure. Okay, if this was a real pent-up trade that you couldn't, sit tight for, and you were, rushing to buy all the strength, this shouldn't have happened. You should not have such a wide range bar down like that. Okay, it should have held, 50-40-ish, which it did for a while, right? The beginning of the day, if you go into today, it came in. This looked pretty normal, right? This was your breakout from here. This was your sideways action. This is if the market was somewhat normal. Got downgraded today, so I was buying into this, and I was buying dips, selling, and then once it broke 50-40, I'm like, ooh, market might be really that weak that this is not going to hold. Some guys actually even got short here from the site. So when that broke here, that was one sell signal, and then I got stopped out a little bit below 50 when it finally did this. And wound up closing pretty poorly, and now you have, now it's going to take some time. If it holds in there tomorrow, I can get back in the stock. I'm still in next Friday's options. I did a call spread just to be safe. But overall, if you bought it in the hole, which we were buying it right here and added here and sold some strength, if you lost the last third there, you're not going to lose sleep over it. As far as Facebook, it was different, right? Facebook, you had this channel that we've been following for so long, and this was your breakout time, where it failed. Maybe Twitter will do it a few times. This is when it broke above 77. Here's where it sort of held, and then this is when it broke above, and this one broke through, and then I sold on that day, so I held it through this whole thing, and then it gave you another day, and everyone was kind of yelling at me like, oh, you always sell too early. But now look, so I think coming in tomorrow flat, Facebook will be interesting. We'll see how it reacts. It's one of the strongest stocks out there, and we'll know how weak this market is based on what happens tomorrow. This can go for 3 days, so if you wanted to sell, it'll be flat, fine. So you come in right down today's low of 82.92, and we'll see if it opens lower and comes back above it. We'll see if it retests this breakout area that usually holds, and we'll see if there's opportunity there tomorrow. So with all that said, today to me was a pretty surprising day, but as a trader you have to execute, you have to switch gears, you have to be aware of levels, and you have to know what things mean. We know retracement rules help us to know whether a move is valid. We know a prior pivot, which is yesterday's low, after a 2-day down move, it can go below, reclaim it, give us a reversal setup, but if it doesn't reclaim it, it means you better be careful, which is what happened today. And now we're in a spot where tomorrow's Thursday, we'll see what kind of open we get. I guess the best open would be a down open to see if we could buy a few things for some type of reversal and see how it lasts, but at this point things feel somewhat broken. If we open up tomorrow, we'll use some patience. Either way, hopefully you didn't get too battered and bruised. There's definitely tactics we have in our tool belt to keep us safe and sound and honor your stops so you could sleep at night and honor your process so you could make a living at this. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.